After 20 Years by O. Henry. The street was nearly empty at 10 o'clock at night. A cold wind came cutting off the river, sweeping scraps of paper across the pavement and rattling the awnings of the shops that had long since closed. The few people still out walked quickly, with their chins tucked down and their hands in their pockets, wanting only to get somewhere warm. A police officer walked his beat slowly along the dark block, his heavy blue coat buttoned to the collar. He was in no hurry. He tried each door as he passed, giving the handle a firm pull to make sure the lock had caught, then turning to sweep his eyes across the empty doorways. He carried his nightstick loosely in his hand, twirling it now and then with the easy confidence of a man who knew his city well. In the deep doorway of a hardware store, a man stood waiting. He had an unlighted cigar in his mouth, and his coat collar turned up against the chill, but otherwise he seemed perfectly at ease, as though cold streets and late hours were nothing new to him. He was well dressed in a way that announced a certain success, a white handkerchief folded precisely in his breast pocket, a large diamond scarf pin glittering in his tie. When the officer's steps drew close, the man spoke up at once, cheerfully, as if glad of any company. "It is all right, officer," he said. "I am just waiting for a friend. It may look a little odd, I know, standing here at this hour, but I can give you the whole story if you care to hear it." "Go ahead," said the officer, stopping and resting one foot on the stone step. 20 years ago, the man began, there was a restaurant right on this spot. Big Nose Brady's, they called it. On the night before I left New York, I had supper there with my best friend in the world, a fellow named Jimmy Wells. We had grown up together in this city, Jimmy and I, like brothers, or closer than brothers, because brothers sometimes have reasons to be rivals, and we never did. Then I had to go out west. There was nothing for me here, but out there, a man who was willing to work and willing to take chances could make something of himself. Jimmy would not come. He loved New York. He said there was no other city in the world worth living in. The man laughed quietly, remembering. Maybe he was right, but I went. He paused to strike a match and lit his cigar. The small flame flared briefly, lighting up a face that was strong and angular, a square jaw, sharp, bright eyes, and a little white scar near his right eyebrow. "We agreed that night," he went on, shaking the match out, "that we would meet again here, at this exact spot, at 10 o'clock in the evening, exactly 20 years from that day. No excuses, no letters ahead of time, just the place and the hour and the faith that the other man would be there. Jimmy said he believed a friend worth meeting was worth any length of wait. I felt the same way. So we shook hands on it, and I went west the next morning." "That is a long time to hold to a promise," the officer said. 20 years is a long time," the man agreed. "But Jimmy Wells is worth it. He was the finest fellow I ever knew, steady as a clock, honest straight through to the bone. I knew that if he was alive and could walk, he would be standing right where I am standing now." "Have you heard from him since you left?" "We wrote letters for a year or two, but out west a man gets busy, and the letters got further and further apart, and then they stopped altogether. I have not heard from him in more than 15 years, but I knew his character. I know it still. That is why I am here." The officer nodded. He looked down the empty street and back at the man in the doorway. "What did you do out west?" he asked. The man smiled, and there was a quiet pride in it. "I had to compete with some of the sharpest wits going," he said. "It was not easy, but I found my way. I did well, better than well, if I am honest about it." He touched the diamond in his tie with one finger. "It took 10 years and a good deal of nerve, but the money came. I can go anywhere and do anything I like now. And the first thing I liked was coming back here tonight." He pulled out his watch to check the time, and even in the dim doorway the officer could see that it was a handsome piece, heavy gold with small diamonds set into the lid. The man snapped it shut and put it away. 5 minutes to 10, he said. I have been here since 9:30. I will give him till 10:30 at least. Well, I hope your friend comes, the officer said, straightening up. I must be moving along. He gave the man a nod and walked on down the block, his footsteps steady and unhurried on the damp pavement. The man in the doorway smoked his cigar and waited. The wind came in gusts, and each gust swept the street cleaner and emptier. The street lamps burned their dull orange light down onto nothing. 20 minutes passed. Then a tall man came along the sidewalk at a brisk walk, his coat pulled close, his hat brim down against the wind. He slowed as he neared the hardware store, then stopped. Is that you, Bob? He said. Jimmy Wells! The waiting man stepped forward and grabbed the tall man's hand in both of his, shaking it hard. I knew you would come. I knew it the whole time. I said to the officer that was just here, I said Jimmy Wells will be here if he is alive on this earth. And here you are. How are you, Jimmy? Lord, it is good to see you. Same old Bob, said the tall man and laughed a little. 20 years and you have not changed your faith in people any. Why would I change it? Said Bob. You are here, are you not? He fell into step beside the tall man, and they walked together along the block. Bob talked with the ease of a man who has been saving things up to say. He talked about the West, about the towns he had passed through, the deals he had made, the money that had come slowly and then all at once. The tall man beside him listened and said little. They walked around the corner, a drugstore on the far side of the intersection, through a wide band of bright white light across the pavement. And as the two men stepped into it, Bob turned to look at his companion. He stopped. He looked at the tall man's face the way a man looks when something in his mind does not match what is in front of his eyes. He took a step back. You are not Jimmy Wells, he said. His voice was flat and certain. 20 years puts lines on a man's face and weight on his frame. I know that. But it cannot change the shape of his nose. Jimmy Wells had a different nose. Who are you? It has been a long time, Bob, said the tall man quietly. Things change. Not noses. The tall man straightened. You are right, he said. I am not Jimmy Wells. I am a plainclothes officer. Bob, you are under arrest. The police in Chicago have been looking for you for some time. Bob said nothing. He stood still for a moment in the bright light of the drugstore, and then he went along quietly, without argument, without resistance. At the corner beneath the street lamp, the plainclothes man reached into his pocket and held out a small, folded note. The officer on the beat asked me to give you this, he said. Bob took the note and opened it. He read it slowly, standing under the lamp. His hands did not shake. When he finished, he folded it carefully and put it in his coat pocket. The note said, Bob, I was at the spot on time. When you struck that match to light your cigar, I saw your face. I recognized you. I have known for some time that you are wanted back in Chicago. I could not be the one to arrest you. I just could not do it, Bob, not with my own hands. But I could not let you go free either. So I sent a plainclothes man who could do what I could not. I am sorry. Your old friend, Jimmy.